Yay. There you are,
What are,
Peter John. Thank you for joining
what are
us.
you guys doing? What are you guys
Bill,
doing?
Bill and Cheryl are cracking me up. So if I seem to be a madman at any time during the show, you guys know why. Those are the two culprits.
Wondering, because I can only see you and Sarah. I can't see Bill.
It's
So
just as well.
I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Uh,
Nothing.
So innocent boys and girls.
oh my
I'm
God.
nothing. Not doing
Uh,
nothing.
Nothing.
Kids, it's a madhouse. It's become a madhouse. All
Before
right,
we get
here.
too deep into it, Lon, I just wanted to thank you for the card, please. Thank you.
I said, just saying, you're very welcome, Kevin.
And
And just to be a tease for Tommy.
I can't, I don't know what it is.
It's a letter from
Uh,
Hogwarts.
it's Peter Turner's Grail.
Ah, interesting.
Oh, Bill is still at it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, kids, here we go. Oi. So some of you have previewed the madness that is our pre-show chat. And now you'll know if I crack up during the show, why. So I'd like to welcome all of you. I'd like to, but I won't. No, I'd like to welcome all of you to Magical People Live with our very, very special guest, Lon Mandrake, and my great co-host, the award-winning co-host, Cheryl Hayes, or Lady Chameleon, if you will. Let's get this.
That's where one
Let's
of the
get
places
this.
was swept from.
Now, you guys have to mute yourself. You gotta be
Boy,
nice.
boy.
You gotta be nice here. Well, yeah, right. Why? But we have to project some kind of semblance of sanity to our public. So, anywho, let's get this show on the road. You may remember me from my television shows in the 1980s and 90s, and now I host two regularly live streamed virtual magic shows. One is a showcase for some of the greatest magicians in the world, and the other is a talk show featuring some of the most inspiring conjurers of our times. Welcome now to Magical People. And there we are. Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Magical People Live. There's my wonderful co-host, Lady Chameleon, aka Cheryl Hayes. How are you this day, Cheryl?
Doing good. How are you today?
I think I'm okay. Often I'm surrounded by madness, and that's okay as well because it's a familiar thing. Very special guest this week is Lon Mandrake, who we will be joining in a few minutes. But right now, I believe that we're going to try in a very difficult experiment of the mind, Cheryl and I, and we're going to ask. I think I will bring in. Yes, I will bring in
Ooh,
the
ooh, ooh, ooh,
great Tommy
ooh.
Burnett. How are you this day, Tommy?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much for showing. You're always appreciated. It's I guess it's going to be a thought reading show, if you will, what with us and the great Lon Mandrake as well. I want to just share something. Now, Cheryl will do as I do. So I don't know if you have paper and pencil handy, Cheryl. I'm gonna just move my cam down a wee bit so you guys don't think there's any funny business. And Cheryl will make two predictions, as I will as well. One will be one will be a lonely number. No, one will be a number, and the other will be a playing card. That's all I will share with any of you. And once Cheryl has done that, she will rest it, I believe, on the back of her hand so it's there in full view the entire time. I've got my prediction here, my two predictions in full view. We're going to utilize as well, as alluded to a few seconds ago, a deck of playing cards. I love the colors, and they're often a good medium to play with
Mm-hmm.
for thought reading. And let's see if we should do it this way. I think we shall. Spread as much as I can. What a poor spread for a magician who's been a magician for more than 30 years. Isn't that awful? I tell you, I'm gonna move it back a little bit also so you guys can see it better. There we go. And Tommy, I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you, please, if you will, in a moment, I'm going to be moving my finger back and forth over the cards, and I'm going to ask you, if you will, please, to call stop. Let's start.
Stop.
Okay, so it's one of several cards. We're going to attempt to narrow it down. Let's call this one, two, and three. Which one do you prefer?
3.
Three. Very good. Very good. And we're both going to be learning at the same time what incarnation the card is. This is obviously not prepared. We've prearranged nothing, Tommy. Is that correct? I didn't ask you to stop at a specific place.
No, you did not.
Excellent. So we have my little set of predictions. Cheryl has her predictions as well, which have been resting on top of her hand the whole time. We spontaneously selected the three of hearts. It could have been any card. It happened to actually this time be the three of hearts. And Tommy, have I asked you for a specific number yet?
No.
Let's make it between 1 and 10. We'll narrow it down at least to a one-digit number. I'd like you, please, if you will, close your eyes and change your mind as often as possible. And once you've settled on a specific number from 1 to 10, I'd like you, please, to say it out loud.
9.
9. Did you wish to change that or leave it at that?
Leave it at that.
Excellent. Now remember, folks, this is absolutely true. We've prearranged nothing, Tommy and I, and Cheryl will, of course, confirm this as well. We really did prearrange nothing. And I want to share with all of you in a moment the predictions that both Cheryl and I made. We have here the three of hearts randomly selected. We have here as well a number that Tommy has mentioned. I'll show you what I came up with. Whoops. A 9 and a 3 of hearts. And Cheryl as well, you can plainly see the 9 and the 3 of hearts. She's doing her own magic as well. And there we go. I want to thank all of you for helping us this time. Tommy, thank you for being, you're always, and I'm not just saying that, I think you know that, you're always the perfect um, assistant, the perfect subject for these tests, being New York's finest mentalist, if not the greatest. Thanks once again, Tommy.
Thank you, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, I'm so grateful for Tommy and for all of you that show this day. We do this for you. We don't do it for ourselves. If not for you guys, we wouldn't have anything. So we're very grateful. I want to bring in now I want to call him our reporter at large, but he's not very large. He's probably average size, I suspect. And he was gracious enough to, well, He's attending Blackpool anyway, but he was gracious enough to take time to report from Blackpool. So we're going to bring in the great Kevin Peel. Kevin, how are you this day?
Now I've changed to my headset, so hopefully you're sounding okay and you can hear me all right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. Yeah, that cuts off all
absolutely.
the background noise, so I can just concentrate on you. And Michael, who are you calling fat?
I'm sorry?
Who are you calling fat? You said I'm your large reporter.
At large, at large.
At large, that's right. I'd like to think of you as medium, not large, or you're an actual medium, perhaps at medium. So,
There you go.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me along to have a chat. So yes, I am here at the platform. I don't know if that's reversed or the right way around. It might be upside down for the backward one. But the Blackpool Magic Convention, which is an annual event, which is a pilgrimage for any magician worth his salt. We've got 5,000 plus magicians here at a wonderful venue called the Winter Gardens in Blackpool. The venue is wonderful. The town, unfortunately, is bitterly cold. No, it's the worst February I've known for many years. It's horrible. But then the weather is upside down everywhere at the moment. And I believe it's snowing in New York. Look on my weather forecast. I don't know if it is at the moment, but I'll have a quick look. And what's it like up where you are, Michael, in Canada?
on the west coast here of Canada, though,
Yeah.
how unusual. We've got rain for the next week or so.
Oh, they. But just to say about Blackpool, it's been just up. This is my third Blackpool, and I'm enjoying this more than I've enjoyed any of the others. The first one I went to was an eye opener. It was sort of mind-boggling. The size of the event, and last year was okay. I enjoyed myself, but I wasn't overawed. But this year, the lectures have been stunning. I've just been to a show called The One, which has a price, I saw Ian put it in the chat earlier, of 30,000 UK pounds for the winner. There were 8 contestants in it. They were all pretty good. There were a couple of standouts that caught my eye. And a couple of lady or female or magicians, or I just have to say that they were, because we call everyone magician now. So I have to say there were some magicians who were, but there was a good percentage of female magicians, which was really good, and they were both outstanding, both stunning. So the level was extremely high, and if I was asked to pick a winner, I would find it impossible. So that's $40,000 ish for the first class, just for doing 5 minutes, 10 minutes of magic. So that's a good annual prize. You can do that once a week. That would
I
be
love it.
lovely.
I'm going to ask you, Kevin, to
Yeah,
name drop straight out. If people walked into Blackpool, which they
yeah,
shouldn't this late at this point, but
yeah.
if they were, what magicians would they happen upon, either in shows or lectures, or maybe run into?
Well, because of what I'm interested in, I saw a lecture by Peter Turner today, which was really, really good. He's a mentalist, as you will know, and his lecture was very insightful. Lots of interesting things, which is something we could talk about in the after show if I can get back to you for that. And yesterday I saw a lecture by Blake Voigt, and that was extremely interesting lecture. Uh, he talked about one of his skills to do with healing pain counterpart, but he also then did a creative workshop with everybody. So it was a big hall that was in, about 1,000 odd people in the hall, and we all brainstormed ideas. We had a big board then with lots of different ideas, single word ideas, and then refined it down to a couple, and then sort of a premise, and then put a whole new creative script together on the night with the audience.
Wonderful.
And it was just a great idea.
Wonderful. So
Anyway, thank
also,
you.
many of us, and I'm just as guilty of this, of going to magic conventions. Sure, the lectures, sure, the shows, definitely the dealers' rooms. So again, I'll ask you to name drop, if you will, just some, because I know
Impossible,
there are many,
impossible.
some of
Think
the
of the
magic
dealer.
dealers.
Think of a global dealer, and they are there. It's just about anybody. There's over 250 dealers
Right.
in the three. There are three halls. There's a main hall which is huge and has a balcony which is also full, and then there's a one called the Horseshoe, and then in the middle of the Horseshoe there used to be a theatre called the Horseshoe Theatre. That was where dealers was. So it's
That's
absolutely incredible.
fantastic.
You can spend
Our
a
own
day
our
studying
own
dealers.
Martin Duffy is part of it as well. He's
He
there,
is
isn't he?
indeed, yeah. And he was there doing very well. And I spoke to Preston Nyman, that's Andy Nyman's son, who was there, chatting to Martin when I turned up this afternoon. We had enough about the potential upcoming London Magic Convention this year, and whether it's going to take place or not. So, and they're currently unsure whether we will get a London Magic Convention this year. So let's just hope we do.
Very
I
exciting.
love it.
So exciting. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that you're going to record some of this footage and maybe show it on Wednesday's Open Night Magic Theater. Look that up on
Can I
Facebook.
mention another show, Michael?
What's that?
Excuse me. Can I mention another show?
Yes, of course.
On Monday, there's the No Name Trivia Show, which streams out of Australia, which is round about 9 a.m. UK time, silly o'clock a.m. or p.m. or in the middle of goddamn nowhere. Yeah, unfortunately your side, but I know people still watch it, even though it's a
Yes.
free out. So I'm doing tomorrow. I've lined up a lot of interviews for that, and and I should hopefully then be able to to edit some of those out and use them on Wednesday as well. So it'll be fun.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We'll look forward to that. And technically, in my books anyway, this is sort of the beginning of our brand new look, World
Mm-hmm.
Magic Network. And I'm actually, even as we speak, I'm putting together, you can't tell, but I'm putting together my Canadian Magic segment as well. So I think it's
Fabulous.
going to be a great kickoff to all of that.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks for inviting me on, Dr. Moss. I don't want to hog the show, so I will let you get back to the main event.
Thank you so much, Kevin Peel, out in the field, our roving reporter,
Roving
if you
reporter.
will. Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much
much.
for joining us, Kevin, and we'll see you Wednesday at Open
Absolutely.
Mic Magic.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Night, everyone.
Night.
And there we go. I always tend to unintentionally cut people off when I'm saying goodbye to them. It really is unintentional, folks, really. So thank you so much, Kevin. It's always a delight. It makes me feel like we were at almost at the convention, and it makes me almost want to attend. How do you feel? I almost said Lady Chameleon. You are, but you're Cheryl. Don't you think that's exciting?
Oh, that would be fun to go to. That sounds fun.
It is. It is.
Learning
And
experience.
yes, totally. For me, it's yes, the lectures and the shows and all that, but it's like what's new in the world of magic that no one else is privy to or has bought yet, and that's what I love. I used to go to a number of conventions back in the 80s, maybe 90s, and yeah, I just went and just loved the various things they had for sale there.
Yes.
So. Hey, I just realized it's just about time.
Yes. It is.
It
You
is.
introduce our
And
guest.
I really didn't mean to ignore him. This was a great honor to have Lon Mandrake participate this show.
Yes.
So I want to say without further ado, but no, I'm going to add a little bit here. I consider Lon Mandrake a friend of mine. I'm honored that he and his wife Linda are friends of mine, friends of ours, and his dad, what a legend, what a pedigree that Lon is coming from. The first time I ever saw his dad perform, the great Leon Mandrake, and yes, guys out there, if you ever read the comic book, there's a whole story, hopefully, that Lon will share with all of us. Was that his dad? Was it not? Did they copy something? What's going on there? What's the true story of that, of the comic book and his father, Leon Mandrake? The first time I saw his father was on a CBC. CBC is a major Canadian television network, and they were running a special on his dad. I'd never seen him before. I was living out east. I was living on the prairies. I was seeking shelter. No, I was actually living in a house in the prairies, in a city called Winnipeg, Manitoba, which I still adore, but don't live there anymore because it's minus 40. And this man intrigued me. He looked familiar, although I'd never met him personally. And the magic he did on that show, we're going to share in a few minutes a couple of clips of what he does or used to do. And between you and me, I still believe, bar none, that his dancing handkerchief is the best in the world. No one has equaled it. And you'll see a little bit of that in a while as well. So let's bring out one of the sons of the great Leon Mandrake. Let's bring out Lon Mandrake.
Well,
Yay.
hello.
Give her a round of applause.
Glad to see you
Hello.
all.
Thank you so much for joining us this day, Lon. I know you have a very busy schedule. And once again, I want to plug right away. If you guys haven't bought this book yet, and this is a shameless plug, not to make money, but to share a part of magic history. This book is amazing. And you could see it was autographed by Lon, which I'm very thankful for. But it's filled with posters and pictures, and you can consider this a little bit of a history of magic and the times of your father, the great Leon Mandrake. I won't ask you how it's come to be, but I will ask you a little bit about his times. And this came across my consciousness this morning because a lot of magicians in the 1800s, early 20th century, they used to travel more or less in a caravan. They used to have advanced, what we call advanced people, scoping out, if you will, the next town that they were going to go to and put up posters in advance. Your dad is of the relatively modern era, I believe the 30s and 40s and 50s, probably on into the 60s and 70s as well. You guys didn't travel in caravans and horse and buggy and big to-dos. Did you fly? How did you transport? How did your dad transport all these huge illusions?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because I was thinking about my life and being a child with brothers and a sister and traveling with my dad. Actually, we had a couple of large vehicles, and at one time we had two buses, and they would carry the equipment. And in those days, it was quite interesting too because uh, as a well-known magician in the area, he might perform in, say, San Francisco, and then he'd say, "Okay, let's head out." And you could pick any direction. There was always a town that had a theater. The theater would have movies, but they would be very willing to let you perform with the movie and draw more people. So there's always work, and it wasn't like you had to plan things years in advance as modern magic. If you were going to do some very big things, it was you just moved along town to town, and usually you'd have an advanced man ahead of you to do some bookings. But many times I remember as a family just saying, well, my dad would just say, "Well, which way should we go?" And away we go with uh, the family. And we also had a number of supporting acts, acrobats and comedians, and they, of course, would travel with us. Some of them had children, so it was a very fun way of life, you know. Um,
Probably it sounds like a family affair of sorts as well. How did you guys transport your equipment though?
Usually in the bus.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, my mother worked with Blackstone in 1945, and of course, Blackstone used trains. Uh,
Yes.
my dad had you know, he had a full stage show, but you could put it you could put it in a bus or truck, you know.
Awesome. And I've seen some, and not many at your house years ago, some of the actual large illusions. I want to share with everybody a clip of your dad performing. It's a series of clips, to be honest. So let's just have a look and see the great Leon.
But what powers, other than pure magic, can make an ordinary table float above the stage with one touch from Mandrake? At 73, Mandrake no longer tries to outdo Houdini. He's given up chopping off his assistant's head. But audiences are still enthralled by something as mystifyingly simple as making a handkerchief dance.
Tire yourself all out. Look at you. You get too old for this sort of thing, Kate. Come on. Sit down.
When vaudeville died, stage shows declined, Mandrake was perfect for the glitzy nightclubs. His show was full of fun and thrills, like sawing the lady in half.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mandrake, the magician.
But Mandrake conquered television too. During the 50s, he had 2 successful TV series.
Welcome to another half hour of magical entertainment starring Mandrake, the magician, assisted by the lovely Miss Velvet, with her 2 escorts, William and George.
Illusions, hypnosis, even mind reading.
You, huh? You were thinking of a garden hose? Come on. Now, this is not just any hose you were thinking of. This is a particular type of hose.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Plastic.
Yes.
Visible.
Yes.
Garden hose.
Yeah.
See?
It's not really sorcery.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for spending your time with us. I am more and more convinced, as I grow older, that there's only one thing we can take of value as we go from today to tomorrow, and that's the memory of each day that we spend. All the people, the nice people we got to know, and all the happy memories, those we can take with us. So thank you for being a kind audience.
And there we go. That was just a brief snippet. And if you want to learn more about the great Leon Mandrake, get the book. I love the photographs. And I was blessed enough to meet your mother, whose stage name was Miss Velvet, Lon, some years ago. Never got to meet your dad. Unfortunately, that was before my time. But what a gracious, nice woman she was.
hmm yeah, we miss her. She just passed away a few years back. Yeah.
Very, very wonderful. And a diminutive woman, because of course back in the day we're talking mostly to
You had
magicians,
to
but
get
some
into and out of
non-magicians here.
boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah. She could fit very nicely into those what I refer to as slice and dice um, um, props, if you will. So I want to touch on a little bit, if we can, because I alluded earlier to the comic book, and so many people out there have read. Probably in the 60s, 70s, I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe the 80s, the
Well,
comic book.
the because that was well before I was born. There's my dad had been married before to Narda, and they had a large illusion show that Music Corporation of America booked across the United States. Um, I remember when I was traveling with my dad, we traveled, and they did fairs and theaters and nightclubs. Of course, we were too young to go into those. But in about 1955, we were going through St. Louis on the way to the West Coast, and we dropped in and saw Phil Davis, who was the cartoonist for the Mandrake. Like Lee Falk actually developed it and the stories and everything. No way was I know my dad was ever involved in the stories. Uh, to us he was a superhero, but um, the comic strip was a different type of superhero. And uh, anyway, we were there, and we were taken to the area where they actually draw the comics. They draw them weekly, and I guess they go into King Features and show up in all the newspapers. And he actually drew some copies for us. And then later, when we were in Portland, Oregon, which was about a year later, 1956, um, the latest comic book, which was on Dell, it's a 1956 Dell, they used a pretty well a picture of my father as the front cover, and with very strong likeness to my dad with the green eyes and the uh, gestures and doves being showing up. So I've got several copies of that. Actually, some of them I got in 1956 when I was about 8 years old. So
Crazy.
there was a connection, but I really don't know all the details. Uh, from what I understood, they kind of promoted each other. Sometimes the comic book would be a little more famous than my dad, and some areas my dad would be more well known than the comic. But it was a very very interesting connection. My dad used to say he'd get a little annoyed, like he'd do a great show, and then afterwards somebody would always say, "What's happening in next week's Mandrake and the comics?" And he'd say, we might look like each other, but there's no other similarities.
Of
Yeah.
course. Lee Falk, though, also did The Phantom, did he not?
Yes, he did. Yes. Yeah.
And I used to, as a boy growing up, enjoy reading The Phantom and some of the Mandrake comics. I don't know if they were Charlton or Dell. I don't remember the company. You were,
There was only one Dell.
yes.
Um, the others were King, I
Oh,
think, by
that's
King
right.
Features. Yeah.
That's
And,
right.
and then there were some earlier ones as well. I had the entire collection of comic books just for my own, uh, hobby, I guess. And um, the some of the older ones I actually lost, but I have them going right back to 1942 or whatever it was, quite old.
Wow, that's fantastic. When I look at the photos in the book, The Real Mandrake, the Magician, co-written by yourself and Linda, your wife, I just get so drawn in. I get drawn in with many of the photos of the time because I like old things as well. I like period stuff, etc. And I tend to imagine myself during those days as well. And I am going to bring up the dancing handkerchief that your dad did. The very first time I ever saw the dancing handkerchief being performed was on that CBC special, of which we just saw a few seconds of it. And I tell you, Lana, I'm not just saying that to be nice. I've seen Blackstone Jr. and Senior. I've seen so many guys perform that over the years, both live and through video, etc. And I have to say, that is truly the best version of the dancing handkerchief because it has personality. It's not some inanimate object that suddenly comes to life and it's moving around without purpose and then, it vanishes. It's like a real person. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, well, I used to think so. Don't forget, I used to watch it when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and to me, it was a real person. Actually, the name my father gave to it was Katie King, and I don't know if you're familiar with Katie King, but it was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's, I think, spirit guide through one of his favorite
Yes.
psychics, and
Yes.
um, yeah, definitely it had a lot of personality,
It's
and
so wonderful.
yeah,
And
and he, he had actually he'd worked with Ralph Richards, who was had a show about as big as Blackstones back in 1927, and Ralph Richards also did a dancing handkerchief, but they were always in a box or the same as Blackstones, and so later, and I think it was about 1950, 57 or 58. He devised a way to put it into a bottle and have it in a glass
yes.
bottle, come out of the cork bottle, pop out the cork, dance around the stage, drop back in. And he also had to develop it so it could be done in a nightclub. Because he was doing mainly nightclubs by then, theaters had kind of died out, and you could no longer have a live show with a movie because of the movie rights. They wanted to make sure they got the full amount for the movies. Um, so he had to develop one that could be done pretty well surrounded, whereas of course the other ones were done on stage,
Yes.
on a full stage where he was basically, you know, completely surrounded in a nightclub. Usually the orchestra would be
Absolutely.
behind you.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. Peter John and our audience brought up, and being Canadian, I should know this, that your dad appeared in an episode of The Beachcombers, a TV series.
Yes, yeah, also he was he was in several he was in several others, but they were small, small parts. Beachcombers was a whole session. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, I wish I could get a hold of that. I'd love to see that because I've seen The Beachcombers a number of times, and Bruno Gerussi lives out here somewhere.
yeah,
If he's still alive, one of the stars of that show. It was great, great fun. As an Easterner watching it, I couldn't relate at all to whatever West Coast
yeah.
stuff was
Well,
going
we
on.
still have the idea was that Mandrake took his show for a fundraiser to Gibson's, where the
Ah,
Beachcombers is done, and um, Relic goes into a mummy and disappears. And of course, all the kids are quite upset about that. And so eventually he's refound on stage, and it's quite an interesting story. It's I think great for kids. You know,
sure. I want to bring up you have brothers and I think at least one other sister. One brother I personally knew as well. He was a great magician. And the point of all of this is so Ron chose to be a magician. He did an incredible version of the linking rings and worked great with cards and did amazing stuff. And you chose another route. You chose mentalism, mental
mentalism.
magic,
Yeah.
if you will. Any particular reason why?
Well, yeah. Actually, this is not, I guess, too well known. I might be in the book, but in 1951, when my dad was performing in Chicago and doing the big stage shows, um, he bought Alexander, the man who knows. He bought his complete show, which was all the posters and slates and forcing books and the whole thing. And so my dad and mom developed a mental show to do with the magic show. So it maybe the last 15, 20 minutes of their stage show, 2 hour stage show, they would do a mind reading feat. And I was very, very fascinated in that, especially as became a teen. And I wasn't very good at sleight of hand. My brother was. So I thought, Dad, if you're going to teach me something, I'd rather be taught the mentalism. And so, you know, I was taught several routines. I never performed them though because I was too shy. But when I got older, I thought to myself, well, I know this, and I've seen. I'd been to the Magic Castle and saw the Falkensteins perform, and so I said it's about time I started doing this. So I started performing mentalism, and it just, you know, I just loved it. Loved the reaction of the audience and the discussions you get into afterwards. So and then being a teacher, a biology teacher as well, I try to combine the idea of the mind and how it works and the enjoyment of a good mental act.
Let's have a look at you. This was from probably the 80s or 90s on local television, Vancouver television.
It would have been the early 90s.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
I want to show Lon off a little bit. So let's check this out, everyone.
And I'd like to introduce you to magician Lon Mandrake. Welcome to BTV Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Now everybody loves a magic trick, and you guys are here. There's over 20 magicians and wizards here at Science World until January 2nd.
That's right. Yeah.
And you're going to show us a trick right now.
Well, what I'd like to show you is give you a chance to play my lottery game.
Oh.
And it's sort of a sure thing. I'm going to have
good.
you.
Do I win anything?
Well, yes, you do, as a matter of fact. I'm going to have you just write down a number. My wife will bring a board, and I'm going to use my special lottery.
So I need to choose a number between 20 and 60.
So you just go ahead and choose a number, and I'll fill in some numbers here.
Okay, there's my number.
All right, now what's your number?
Okay, you're going to try to...
I'll see if we can...
Okay. What are you doing there, Lon?
I'm writing down some numbers here.
Yeah?
As they sort of come to me. And, okay, I have a number of different numbers.
Yep.
Do you see your numbers? Is it number 17 or 18?
No.
No. What was your number? You can tell us now and show the audience.
It was 37.
Number 37. Well, it would be nice if all lotteries worked this way, but what we've done, we made sure you're going to win, because if the lottery people pick any of the four columns of balls, we add up to your lucky number 37. We have 17, 28, 33 and 4 make 37, 1, 9, 19, and 18 make 37, 12, and that 16 is 28, 31 and 6 make 37, 7, 9, and 19 is 28, and 9 make 37. The rows also add up to 37 in case they choose those instead. Okay, we'll just do 1, 17, 18, 30, and 7 make 37.
I'm glad you're adding it up because I'm really bad at math.
Well, I was going to say that one of the most astounding things is I can still add in my head and not have to use a calculator, which is a forgotten art. Okay, but we also have the four corners add up to your lucky number 37. We have 17, 24, 33, and 4 make 37. The diagonals also add up. We have 7 and 16 make 23, 33 and 4 make 37, 17, 25, 28, and 9 make 37. In fact, any four balls that touch make your lucky number 37, so I'm really, really happy that you chose that number.
When you asked me if my number's up there, I thought, I stumped him. My number's not up there. I won. I won the magic trick. That is amazing. I can't wait to do some more magic with you. Perfect. Now, if you're interested in coming down to Science World, and coming up on BTV Breakfast, we will have another performance by magician Lon Mandrake. I've taped up his eyes. He's got little cards under his eyes, and now I'm going to be blindfolding him, and we're getting ready for another performance coming up on BTV Breakfast. Magician Lon Mandrake. I put little cards on his eyes and masking tape and taped them all up and wrapped them together around. You can't see anything, right?
No, I cannot see anything.
Okay, so what are we doing, Lon?
Okay, I'm going to have you write down a significant date, a date that's important to you. It could be a birth date, it could be an anniversary, or just a date that's important. Write it down, and I'm going to see if I can duplicate it or find the date by writing it on the board here.
Okay.
So if you want to go ahead and do that.
I've done that.
Name or date, try it.
Oh, nothing?
Did you have a year?
Good. Yes, I have a year.
Okay. Is that close?
That's it! What are you... How did you do that? gosh. How did he do that, you
Well,
guys?
it was a very significant date.
That's my brother's birthday.
Yes.
How did you? I know you can't tell me how you did it because you're a magician. Oh my
No,
gosh.
in fact, magicians do them, but they don't explain them, you see, and that's what causes the mystery. And of course, that then creates an interest in science, hopefully.
Oh, yes, and we're at Science World, and we have lots more to come from Science World. Wow.
And there we go. That was just, again, a brief snippet. Yes, let's put our hands together for Lon's performance. Wow. Every time I see that, I just love it. I love your presentation style. Of course, our beloved Tamara Taggart has been on air for so many years. When I moved out here, she was the weather gal, the weather person, I believe. And let's talk Science World briefly, because I've been in Science World a couple of times as part of the Society of American Magicians shows, and I loved it. The people that come to Science World, the families, they're just so nice. How long were you doing Science World for, Lon?
Well, we started in 1989. Well, actually, I did Science World before it was Science World. It was called the Arts, Science, and Technology Center. And I used to perform there when I was president of the Science Teachers Association. And when they reopened as Science World in 1989, we went in and did a special weekend and just packed the place. And so it's been almost every year since. So it's about 35 years, I guess, that
That's
we've been performing
crazy.
there, with a few off years where we did other things instead. But we use it as a showcase for the 15 to 20 magicians that we have in our club. And they all do a different style of magic. And, some will be science and magic, some will be escapes, some will be mental, some will be big illusions, lots of close up. And it's been a very, very popular venue. And it's kind of held our Society of American Magicians Club together because it's something we do together yearly.
Absolutely. We
I
look
was just going to
forward to
say,
it.
after watching that little ad, I miss all my hair that I used to have.
And I was going to
I
say,
was
it's
thinking,
funny you said that.
what kind of magic can I do to get that back?
Oh no, I was going to say, and you haven't aged a bit. So that's funny that you said that,
Yeah.
actually. Let's say folks want to get in touch with you, they want to book you for a show or three. How can they?
Well, I'm at leonmandrake.com is my website.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
And
and to
and the
contact me
book?
would be Leon at leonmandrake.com. No,
Excellent.
my name is actually legally would be Leon, but I was called Lon or Lonnie from birth, and not to confuse me with my dad, right? I guess.
Of
And
course.
yeah,
Of course. So, Cheryl and I actually want to bring Cheryl into this. The Society of American Magicians recently awarded Cheryl an award, Best Assistant, although I like to call her my partner in magic. But she recently got this award somehow because she lives on the other side of the country in the States and we live out here.
yeah.
And it was presented to her via me on video. I think you have it. Do you mind holding that
Would
up
you like to
for
see
us,
it
Lon?
again?
Again.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
This is it here. Now we have 3 awards in our club. The Carl Hemian Award is for excellence in magic and uh, sort of support of the club. We have the Leon Mandrake Award, which for showmanship and creativity, and we have the Lottie Hemian Award, which is best assistant. This award can go outside the club, so there's been a lot of famous assistants have received this over the last 30 years, and Cheryl, you are now one of them. So I'll be
you.
sending this off to you by the mail.
I will look forward to getting it. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm very, very honored, very blessed.
I was glad you're nominated.
Indeed. And I was so surprised. We were walking up, Sue and I were walking up the steps to Stefano's, or Stefano's, as I like to call it, for that dinner and our shows, of which I was blessed enough to be a part of. And when the awards were given out, it's like I was moved because I just assumed because Cheryl is on the other side of a different country, she wouldn't be in the running, but she was, let alone win. Well deserved, Cheryl. Thank you so much for you.
Thank you.
And so we've prepared this lawn especially for you, our version of spiritualism. To be honest, we were inspired. I was inspired after listening to an audio recording that Ian Fenn came up with. He's in our audience somewhere. He's part of the Open Mic Magic show and all that sort of thing. There was a group of mentalists. I believe they were a husband and wife team called the Piddingtons. I think they were in Australia. And when I heard that, I was already tutoring Cheryl. She'd kindly asked me to be her teacher, probably one of her teachers. And I got this inspiration. Why don't we do a two-person, a long distance, if you will, telepathy routine, which I've done for the club quite a few times and for that show recently. Um, so we came up with this, a kind of spiritualism, a way, and I know we've done this before, Lon, where we were in a situation where there was a seance. It was a mock seance, um, or was it? And I believe I made contact with somebody very special to you, very near and dear. I believe these two people are still around you, but we're going to try to duplicate it's to a certain degree, that sort of thing. So I'm going to move my camera down a titch, and I believe that Cheryl has um, something as well. And I'd like you, if you will, Lon, at this point, to close your eyes and to focus on somebody, perhaps two people near and dear to you. And I believe, though physically they no longer exist in spirit form, they were never parted. So as you focus on these two people, I'd like you, if you will, to picture their eyes, their kind-hearted smile, perhaps their favorite clothing, perhaps there's a scent as well that was familiar to you or them. And what just materialized from these completely blank slates, you may open your eyes if you haven't yet. Both Cheryl and I, we have Leon and Velvet.
Yeah, I often do feel they're with me.
Yes, I believe they are. Loved ones, they may be physically parted from us, but in spirit, oftentimes I believe they're always with us throughout eternity, if you will. We tend to, as human beings, hopefully have that blessing. I want to thank you so much, Alon, for joining us this day and for adding so much to the show. I hope that people do buy your book. It is for magicians and otherwise. Bill is holding it up in our audience. It is an incredible tome of history, magic history. I'm not just trying to sell this. I actually believe that it will enrich people's lives. And that's what you tend to do, Lon. You and your wife, you tend to enrich people's lives. Very grateful for your friendship and for you coming on today. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buy the book.
Thank you, Bill.
Buy the book.
And there we go. That was so special, wasn't it, Cheryl?
Absolutely. Very.
And the truth of the matter is, he always he always inspires me, even if he's not physically around as well, Lon, in that his whole manner of how he carries himself and how he works with his wife. It's always something to aspire to, and I'm grateful and blessed too to have you as my partner in magic. I want to thank you very much, Cheryl.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you as well. Without you, I
Thank
would not be here.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thank you. And I want to thank all of you out there as well for joining us this day. We're here every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast Time, West Coast Time, 4 o'clock Eastern Time or New York Time, 9 p.m. UK time. We'll see you all. Keep in touch because we have great guests over the next few months. Keep in touch with us. We love you all. We'll see you all next time. Thank you.